Bijan's going to get all the carries he can handle. Christian McCaffrey's going to get dialed down. So you got to ask yourself, if you're sitting there at 1.1, sitting there at 1.2, not necessarily saying you draft Bijan number 1, but do you want Bijan more? Do you trade down? If you're in best ball, you can't trade down. Do you go wide receiver? Do you go Christian McCaffrey? Are we worried about McCaffrey getting injured at 28 years old? Are we worried about his workload getting dialed back? Bijan, McCaffrey are going potentially in different directions, but does McCaffrey have the one elite year left? A lot of people say this over and over and over. It's the most common thing we heard last year walking into 2023. Eckler was so amazing in 2022. You're taking him. You're taking him until he doesn't do it. I mean, that's not the preemptive approach. I'm not saying to avoid McCaffrey. I'm not saying that. But I do believe Bijan Robinson outscores him. I said it last year. I took my lap on it. And even though it was Arthur Smith's fault, it's still on me. I still said it. But I'm here to double down. Bijan Robinson, running back 1, 2024. Do it live. The Fantasy Football Show begins now.
Live from the FantasyFootballShow.com studios. It's the Fantasy Football Show. Live! Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Smitty is also live whenever news breaks.
From the FantasyFootballShow.com news desk, here is your breaking news.
So this report here, 49ers head coach Kyle Shanahan said we have to protect Christian McCaffrey from himself, meaning he wants to be on the field the whole entire time. When asked about the possibility of reducing McCaffrey's workload in 2024, there's still a chance they say they're going to do this and then they don't do it. If the game's on the line, they're really going to take CMC out. Are the Niners going to be blowing teams out of the water? Then you're going to see, if that's the case, you're going to see Christian McCaffrey sit a lot at the end of games, potentially resting him, getting him, keeping him healthy for the playoffs. But if this team's in a close race every single week, then you're not going to see him come off the field very often. And then does he get hurt? So it's kind of a double-edged sword. Do you play the hell out of the guy, and at 28 with a huge injury history, not a little itty-bitty, little blip on the radar. This guy had a significant injury concern. Gets traded to the Niners. He's been banged up a lot, but he hasn't missed chunks of time. So, you could argue that injury concern. I got no injury concern, Smitty, and I can understand that. But he's 28 years old. I don't care about Derrick Henry being 30. He's a complete outlier. It's a remarkable thing. But the traditional drop-off for workhorse running backs that have been doing it their entire career. Not Raheem Mosterts that have been in and out. Not a McKinnon who has one, pop year in his 30s. We're talking about, or Mostert, the way he played last year. We're talking about a workhorse that's been doing it live and doing it well and doing it from the beginning of their career in the NFL. Austin Eckler, 28. Aaron Jones, last year, couldn't stay healthy. I have no faith in Aaron Jones. That's why he's a planet Uranus man.
And off he goes to the planet known as Uranus.
Stay away from planet Uranus players. Aaron Jones is one of them. This is the 28-year-old running back. It's a thing. Can Christian McCaffrey overcome it? Yes, he can. But you have a lot of people that think he's playing 2 or 3 more elite years. If you want to buy into one more, I get it. I'm not mad at you. I'll even draft him. I'm telling you up front on this show. This is not an avoid Christian McCaffrey show. I'm still drafting him, but how often? Can you even cuff him? Do you even know who the cuff is? Is it Grendo? Eventually, I believe it will be. Right now, it's Eli Mitchell. He can't stay healthy. Jordan Mason. He can't really put it all together. So you're in preemptive. Do I grab Garendo and have everybody laugh at me, and then I have the handcuff? Do you grab all 3? Garendo, Mitchell, and McCaffrey. Can you do that? Is your bench size too small? Some people can. They play in 22-man league or 22-player rosters. Some people can't. Sometimes your bench is 5 players deep, and you can barely cuff a player, let alone have 2 cuffs. It totally depends on your league. I can't make that decision for you. But Christian McCaffrey getting dialed back, all in itself is a kind of a tough pill to swallow. When this guy's getting the complete opposite news, Raheem Morris, I think he could be coach of the year. Get the ball in Bijan's hands as much as you can. Put him all over the field. Run the man. Make him a running back first, but then feed him. One of his specialties is catching footballs, and they want to give him the ball on the ground more than anything. This is great news because he's going to do it in the receiving game. He's going to get checkdowns. He's going to have 60-plus receptions on a bad receiving year. He's going to have 2 or 3 receiving touchdowns on a mediocre receiving touchdown season. He's going to have over 10 rushing touchdowns. He's going to have over 1,400 yards rushing. This guy's going to have a sum total of at least 19,000 total yards, maybe 2,100 total yards, and 2,200 total yards, somewhere in between there. Did I say 19,000? He could. You never know. This guy's an absolute marvel. 1,900 to 2,200 total yards, 60-plus receptions, 3 receiving touchdowns, we'll call it 11 rushing. We're talking about a minimum of 14 to maybe 16, 17 total touchdowns. That is what this man's going to do. This man, Bijan, that I point to. This man that all he does is score touchdowns. This man that I said was going to be an absolute marvel last year. And for the most part, he was running back number 9. Running back number 9 in a nightmare situation. Running back number 9 when he was the 3rd running back in the pecking order anywhere near the goal line. You remember Arthur Smith's stupid comment last year when he said, yeah, I think Tyler Algier is one of the best goal line running backs in the National Football League. And he gave it to him. Over and over and over, and then Cordero Patterson. They couldn't give this man Bijan goal line work if he begged for it. So he was playing running back 3 duties at times. He was running back 2 a lot of the time. He was never running back 1, and he finished as running back number 9. What do you think he's going to do with the kind of carries that Raheem Morris knows that he needs to get? Then you take the offensive coordinator, Zach Robinson, who comes over from the Rams that just helped produce Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford's successful 2023 season. This man that's used to using 1 RB. Do we understand how important that is? That piece of information is vital. The man heading up the offense, the offensive guru, Zach Robinson from the Rams, who just turned Puka Nacua into Puka Nacua, who just turned Stafford's rebound season into Stafford's rebound season. We know what he did with Kupp and will do with Kupp anytime he gets a chance to have a Cooper Kupp version of player on his team. And London might be that guy. Maybe London is his Puka Nacua. We don't know. Maybe Bijan Robinson's going to be used in ways that we can't even fathom because you've got this like offset in talent that's very similar to the Rams, but it's Bijan as some of that receiving talent. You got Kyle Pitts. He never had a Kyle Pitts. He's got Kyle Pitts. He's got Drake London. Is Drake London is Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp combo? Zach Robinson, who turned that offense into a marvel, was told by McVay, instructed by McVay, commanded by McVay to utilize 1 running back in his formations, in his architecture of this offense, in his passing attack. Zach Robinson's a passing attack marvel. That's why he got brought over to be the offensive coordinator, the mini head coach on this team. The formula that we've said for a long time now is the formula for teams to win. Bring in an awesome delegator, defensive-minded head coach who oversees everything. Bring in an OC, Ben Johnson in Detroit. You got this situation here where Zach Robinson's kind of like Ben Johnson or Slowick in Houston, where you have a mini head coach as your offensive coordinator. Zach Robinson's that good. I'm afraid we're going to lose Zach Robinson to free agent to another team next year. I'm afraid we're going to lose him because that's how it works. Zach Robinson was asked to use. This is my point. I keep procrastinating. Zach Robinson was said, hey, do it with 1 running back. He's used to using 1 running back. Do we know how important that point is? We're hearing from Raheem Morris for getting Bijan the ball as much as possible. Zach Robinson's used to using 1 RB and only 1 RB. All of his passing attack plays and architecture is for the same running back that's constantly in the game. This is all set up for Bijan to be overfed, not in a bad way. Not in a way that'll get him hurt, just getting Christian McCaffrey work. Bijan is turning into Christian McCaffrey. McCaffrey's going to be McCaffrey, but is he losing work? Appreciate you all. I'll have the phone lines open in a minute. Don't you worry. But we'll talk about this on the phone line moving into the next half hour. I'm going to put this right here. We're going to move on to the next piece of news, but you bet your bottom dollar this is going to be a Bijan stream.
We interrupt this program to bring you a special message from the Bruce's mother.
Get Bijan.
Hi, my name is Bijan Robinson. I like long walks on the beach. And, well, I also like scoring.
Bijan card has been revoked.
More news. You saw earlier today, we discussed it, but CeeDee Lamb is essentially, this was a report that I put up my own graphic, accumulating so many different sources talking about this today, but the originating source from what I gather is not really, an unreliable, source, but it's not really a source at all. It's coming from a bunch of different avenues that got funneled in from one source. It's not Schefter, not Rappaport, no big, leak of any kind, that saying that Lamb wants a trade if he doesn't get $32 million a year. But I don't know that I fully buy this exact story. I think the story is probably pretty close, but I think the story more revolves around guaranteed money. I mean, 32 is a flex. You want to be the highest paid wide receiver from an annual perspective, but it does come down to the guaranteed money. The guaranteed money that JJ got was 110. Lamb's going to get more than 110. He's going to get 110 at least, but probably 112, 111, 115, 114, whatever the case may be. It's going to be one up. He's going to one up Justin Jefferson. Why? Because he gets fed more than JJ, number one. Number two, the ball's in his court. What are the Dallas Cowboys going to do? If he says, I'm not signing with you, they're screwed. They're absolutely screwed. Part of me wonders if Jerry is trying to sign Lamb first, even though you're freeing up a ton of money if you get the Dak extension out of the way first to get the Lamb deal done. But you can still fit in both. The cap is fake in many ways. They can move stuff around. A lot of money's up front. And then you just structure the deal so that it's not crushing the team in year one. The Dak deal will save money. It'll all work out and pencil out at the end of the day. Part of me is wondering if Lamb gets signed, it's easier to potentially sign Dak. If Dak is signed, it's easier to sign Lamb. It's kind of a catch, 22 to go one direction and then try and get the other one to sign. This is a similar thing to Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers when the Green Bay Packers were trying to figure out what they wanted to do there. And then Adams wanted to go elsewhere. I think that at the end of the day, there's probably a more than 50% chance that Dak and Lamb are both in Dallas on new deals versus not. But this is Jerry's world, and Jerry's world is wild. Jerry's world is crazy. And I think that if we think we know Jerry, we don't. Any given day, he's going to think one thing. Any given day, he's going to think another. He could come out today and say, I'm not signing anybody. And just be a little vague with it, but we're going for 2024. We'll see what's up after. And then the next day, and he's done this. This is why I know this is true. The next day, he'll come out and go, does anybody really think I'm not up day and night trying to get a deal done? And it's yeah, we do actually think that, Jerry, because you said it. So he's gone all over the place. When the Dallas Cowboys had an embarrassing loss here to the Green Bay Packers in this first round of last year's playoffs, and the Packers advanced to face the 49ers, and Dallas tucks their tail between their legs, and they go into the offseason. And as Jerry's walking away from the loss, he's interviewed, and they say, what are you going to do? And he's embarrassed. He's like, I don't even want to talk about it. He didn't want to discuss it. I don't know if I got to, pull the plug, shake things up, or go, put a blank check out in front of a Derrick Henry. And he doesn't call Derrick Henry, doesn't even reach out to him. Jerry's wild. We don't know what's going on. But we do know, as we said on the earlier show, this will trigger some sort of, if Lamb does get his deal, an inability to sign Brandon Aiyuk for the 49ers, because I don't think they'll chase this money up the tree. And this money does correlate to Aiyuk's money. It doesn't mean he's getting Aiyuk money. That's the most uneducated, I don't know, ball comment by anybody. If they say it in the chat, I'm sorry. I don't mean to offend you, but this is the most uneducated comment you can make.
Lamb's deal doesn't have anything to do with Aiyuk's deal, Smitty.
Unbelievable. It's unbelievable people don't understand how connected everything is. That the guaranteed money bar gets set and everybody's drags up from there. So $32 million, $112 million guaranteed. Do you truly believe? Not to mention, think about the franchise tag dollar goes up. The franchise tag goes up immediately once this contract hits. So guess what Aiyuk's thinking? Now my franchise tag next year is worth more. I know I could get tagged and traded. I know he's going to think all these things, but will he actually get tagged and traded? Can the Niners even afford that? This is a mess. This is why the Niners, if they don't get a deal done, and Aiyuk has said that there's one more meeting. Now, I know a lot of you say, Smitty, I'm tired of talking about Aiyuk. I'm tired of talking about Aiyuk. There's no roll call here. You don't have to be here. I'm sorry that you don't like to talk about one of the most entertaining pieces of the offseason. That's a constant roller coaster ride. There's constantly new information. I'm not regurgitating anything because there's always new news that drops. And we always talk about a new perspective. Always. So, I'm sorry if you don't like to hear about one of the biggest topics in potential moving players if they get moved, or signed players, or playing on their fifth-year option players. This guy, this is a quote here. You got Niner fans everywhere trying to take this TMZ quote. And the TMZ quote was along the lines of, yeah, for sure. Do you want to be a Niner? What do you have to say to your Niner fans? Yeah, for sure. I want to be a Niner. And the Niner pages all run with it. Yet they don't talk about the other quotes that are being used, or the quote of, yeah, if I can't play as a Niner, if they won't offer me a deal, and we have one more meeting, and if they don't want to give me a deal, then, I'd like to go play with Jayden Daniels. Imagine what I could do with this guy, pointing at Jayden Daniels, bringing Jayden Daniels to the pivot interview. And he says, you can't afford a Lamborghini? You can't have one. But no, none of the Niner pages are rolling with that. They're like, oh, he said for sure. It's a done deal. He's coming back. Aiyuk ain't going back with his tail between his legs to sign a contract with the San Francisco 49ers that is below the market value that he sees fit. Whether he's living now in a delusional world, he once was not. He once was not. There was a day when this contract was sitting right in front of everyone. This is the Nico Collins deal. I'm sorry. That one had something to do with what's going on. This is the deal, the Calvin Ridley deal. Calvin Ridley signed a 4-year, $92 million deal, $20 million signing bonus, $50 million guaranteed, $23 annually. This is the moment where the Niners screwed the pooch. This is where the Niners diarrheaed the bed all over the place. Even if they get a deal done, it might come at the expense of trading Debo unexpectedly. Don't think that's not a possibility. But even if a deal gets done, there's no, I told you, Smitty. No, the laughing will be on this side of the fence. That does not come from a Niner hater perspective. I love the Niner players. I love the Niner fan base. You got me all wrong if you think I'm a Niner hater. Debo Samuel, Moonman, Garendo, Ricky Pearsall, Aiyuk. I told you to draft Aiyuk. I told every Niner fan about Aiyuk before they even knew he existed. So let's not twist it up and act like I'm not a Niners supporter. I defend Aiyuk, I defend Debo more than the fan base does. And I predicted this to a T, and I said that the Niner fan base would turn on Aiyuk, and they sure have turned on Aiyuk now. But this deal right here, you could have walked into Aiyuk's mind and said, Calvin Ridley, 4-year, $50 million guaranteed, 23 annually. What if we gave you 24? Who would have said 24.5? 25? Go with 25. Are you sure? Going to say yes to 25? Are you sure? That's not too much? Okay, my agent says 25. 25 million, not 50 guaranteed, 58 guaranteed. Chew on that, Niners. Niners pull the trigger. This thing's done. Don't give me the excuse that Aiyuk has been difficult. You could have smashed that deal I just mapped out the minute Ridley signed this deal. The minute Ridley signed his $50 million guaranteed, you could have got $58 million. Let's even call it $60 million guaranteed, $25 million a year, and it would be done. But the Niners sat on their hands and diarrheaed the bed all over the place. And now the fan base is blaming Brandon Aiyuk. And there's just a trickle effect going all over the place. The reason we're talking about this is the wide receiver impact. Look at Tyreek. Look at Tyreek Hill. 30-year-old wide receiver Tyreek Hill. How many years can he have left? Look how he's talking. I'm very excited to just be a part of the old wave, which was $30 million a year. And Justin Jefferson came and surpassed that. Man, so very proud of those guys. Happy for obviously my teammate Jalen Waddle getting his $76 million guaranteed deal, which obviously affects Aiyuk's deal. I'm 30 years old, also looking for a new deal. Really? This guy wants $30+ million a year. He might even get it. The way this wide receiver market is, I don't know. I don't know what someone's willing to pay him. I don't know. Will they pay him $32 million a year for 2 years? What's that going to look like? What's the guaranteed money on that? Can he get a big fat contract? Probably not. But will he get something? Probably. This man wants money. Once he signs, if he signs, and I don't know that he will, I don't know if he'll hold out, I don't know what's going on here. But if this guy also piles it on, Jamar Chase gets $115 million guaranteed at $33 million a year. Lamb gets $33 million a year at $112 to $115 million guaranteed. You think Aiyuk is sniffing anywhere near the low $70 million guaranteed dollars? Absolutely not. He's going where Waddle went at a bare minimum. Every single contract is screwing this whole thing up. And the idea that Aiyuk can't play on his fifth-year option, to some people, is wild. Because it's heading that direction. And if all this stuff those dominoes start to fall, this situation gets out of control. If the Niners were smart, they would say, we screwed up. Let's rush in, get this deal done before this happens, and this happens. And Jamar Chase happens. Once those dominoes start to fall, this guy's situation looks like glory playing on his fifth-year option, which will be plan B. Plan A at that point will be requesting a trade to see if another team is willing to pay the price. And if they're not, if Washington Commanders won't, which you heard rumors that they shot down a trade negotiation, but don't believe that either, because the man that told you that was Adam Schefter. And as much as I do love Schefter and Rappaport, they're going to break news better than anybody. They're going to get things wrong from time to time. But Schefter told you also weeks prior the Niners never considered trading him at all. And Aiyuk put up a post or responded saying, I thought they weren't going to trade me, in response to that the Commanders backed out of a trade. Aiyuk's basically calling out the media saying, you don't know what you're talking about. You're saying the Commanders already shot down a trade, yet the days before, the same reporter, Schefter, said that there was no serious trade ever being discussed and the Niners never truly wanted to trade him. Can you see the conflict of different stories and angles coming from the same reporters? Yes. Does everybody have an agenda? Yes. Do I have an agenda? You know, I admit here, I'm slightly biased rooting for a Washington Commander landing spot because I'm very pro Jaden Daniels. I'm very pro Washington Commanders. I'm very pro Brandon Aiyuk, and I want Aiyuk to get paid, and I want him to feel appreciated, and I want him to get what's his. So, do I have an agenda? I would say there's a little bias injected into this conversation. I can at least admit it. But do I think that my bias take is wrong? Do I think that I'm going to predict it wrong by guessing a little bit ahead of the curve? No. Sometimes my bias take is an instinct guiding me toward what I think should happen and what I think is logical. Sometimes logical does not play out. Look at Bijan's usage last year. My instinct and my bias for evaluating Bijan's talent. I've got a lot invested in Bijan. I'm cranking out content like crazy. I see something that I believe a lot of other people, if not most every content creator on planet Earth didn't see, because this man was higher on Bijan than everybody. My bias got the best of me because I didn't see Arthur Smith screwing this up. The same man that had more rushing attempts than anybody in the National Football League that year prior. The same man that made Algier look really damn good without even having Bijan on the roster. He ran the ball as good as anybody. I messed up on seeing Arthur Smith coming. Is there bias involved in everything we do? Absolutely. Doesn't mean we're wrong. Doesn't mean the evaluation piece is wrong. It just means we're eager beavers to see this play out in the way we think is the best direction. Will the Commanders not play the trade game? Will the Commanders say, look, JD, I know you want him, but we're not doing that at this moment in time? And then JD5's like pissed off. Okay, fine. That's my best friend. I want him. You're not giving him to me. Stroud gets Tank Dell. Burrow gets Jamar Chase. A.J. Brown goes to the man known as Jalen Hurts, and I don't get my guy. He might be a little pissed off about it. Do I think Washington is entertaining it? Are they posturing? Does we turn the trade offer down or the trade negotiation down mean they close the door? Or is it a trade tactic? If you say no to somebody in a trade in fantasy football, does that mean it's all over? Can someone break the news that the deal's off just because you rejected a trade? Give me a break. Give me a break. Bias involved? Doesn't matter. I'm still breaking it down the most logical way I think a human being could break it down, regardless of my, the Niners keep screwing it up. Tyreek Hill is going to impact everything. Jamar Chase is going to impact everything. CeeDee Lamb is going to impact everything. People better pray. People better pray that this deal with Aiyuk, this for sure wants to play for the 49ers. Look at the narrative that some of these writers write. He for sure wants to play for the Niners this season. He was answering a question where a guy was hounding him about what do you tell the Niner fan base? The guy's words in leading questions were like, so all this drama of everybody speculating and guessing, you aren't going anywhere, are you? And Ayuk's like, what is he going to say to a guy probing for Niner fans? He was probing the questions as if he was a Niner fan, and he answered the question. I don't even know if he said for sure. He kind of mumbled it. He kind of said, for sure. And everyone's like, he said for sure. He said for sure. Maybe he did. But there's some people that said, I just heard sure. I don't know that I heard for sure. I heard sure. I heard sure. You don't know? You don't know. Go run the tape back. It does sound like it could be both. I'm not going to lie. It does sound like it could be both, but no one knows. CeeDee Lamb, this is an older report, but just to kind of piggyback off that, he's definitely not expected to report to training camp without the new contract. So, in conjunction with requesting a trade, which was today's news, again, speculation at best, that's what we got to go on now. McConkey has picked up the offense so easily this offseason, according to his quarterback, Justin Herbert. We'll see. I know a lot of people are going to take this and run, and I say let them. I say let people draft this man as high as they want to. He's got a ridiculously high ADP. Sometimes he flirts with like the 5th or 6th round. Let somebody push a couple other players down. McConkey's not a bad player, but he does not deserve to be anywhere near your 5th drafted player. And if he goes higher than that, it's going to be absolutely laughable that anybody thinks they're going to get their value back. Breece Hall, I feel like I'm back to my old self when asked how he feels heading into training camp. This guy did look like he was kind of dragging his leg last year, right? And he still was one of the best players in the National Football League. Can we imagine what it's going to be like? Let me tell you something from a man that's tore his ACL, tore his LCL, tore his PCL, PCL is the only one I haven't torn. Tore my MCL, LCL, meniscus, patellar tendon, ACL, pretty much everything but my PCL. From somebody that had an ACL reconstruction, I can tell you right now, when I saw Breece Hall run, the fact that he's running 3 miles per hour, prior to the season, we knew he was ready. This man told you, don't buy into any of the doubt. He's different than Barkley. He's different than J.K. Dobbins. I told you the formula. What makes a good ACL recovery their first year back? It's age. How old are you? It's how quick you are to recover. What do you look like a month before the season begins? If you look 100%, if you're running 23 miles per hour and all those boxes are checked, you're 100% the best candidate to do what AP did and to do what Breece Hall did. If you show up to week 1 and you're barely ready like JK and Barkley, it's a no-go. It's a stay away. They're going to have a hamstring injury. You're going to have some sort of injury. You're rushing it. If Nick Chubb rushes it, he'll have compensation injuries in the other leg. There's all kinds of reasons to stay clear of a player that is not ready for week one, that they're trying to push into the lineup for week one. Specifically running backs more than anything. Breece Hall, I could tell, as an ACL torn, recovered person, I could tell he was dragging his leg. It feels like numb. You almost can't feel the entire knee yet, because when you have an ACL surgery, especially when they cut in and there's other things that they do, you're kind of numb for a while in that knee space. Your patellar tendon's numb. Your whole knee's numb. It's kind of a weird feeling, and it feels like the best way I can describe tearing your ACL is you stand on a ladder at the very top of the ladder, you know, where it's wobbling, and if someone were to kick the ladder out from under you, you just fly off it, and it doesn't feel like you're connected to the ladder, and it feels like the ladder can tumble out from under you. When you tear your ACL, that ACL is in the middle of your knee. It keeps the two joints really tight, as does the PCL. And it helps your knee from shifting like this. If you don't have an ACL and PCL, you have your LCL and your MCL on the outsides, and your knee would just slide off like that if it didn't have an ACL and PCL. And you'd rip both of these ligaments. That's why it's risky for Spears not to have an ACL for the long term, because without that tight knee, he could take a shot or a helmet to the knee, and he's got a much more likely chance of ripping his MCL or LCL because he doesn't have that tightness in the middle of it. When you tear that and you replace it, it feels like somebody cut your knee in half and just set the two joints back on top of each other, and you're out there running and cutting it. It feels like, if you're Breece Hall or any other player, even if you're running good, playing good, it feels like at any moment the two joints are just going to slide off of one another, as if someone's kicking a bucket out from under you and you're standing on the top of a bucket or a ladder. And you can tell that when you watch Breece Hall run. He's struggling a little bit with one of the legs, and he still was running back 2 by the end of the season. Can we imagine what Breece Hall is going to do this year now that he's officially 100%? He's going to the moon. He's going to Saturn. Get Breece, baby.
Get Breece.
Breece Hall is 8 foot tall. He will always answer the mother freaking call. Don't let him fall. In the third, don't stall. Just give Batman the freaking football.
He's Breece. He's Breece.
He does a whole of a job. A whole of a job. A whole of a job.
Breece Hall, please report to the moon.
He does a jale payo.
Don't question my injury analysis. Don't question my injury predictions. Don't come in and say anybody can get hurt. We do it better than anybody. There are doctors playing fantasy, and then there's Smitty playing doctor. I make no claims of having a medical degree. I got a master's in digital audience. I did not get one in any sort of medicine. But I've been practicing fake doctor for 23 years, and I've been playing professional fantasy football analyst for 23 years. I've seen every injury known to man. I've self-taught, self-learned, and we do injury analysis better than anybody. I don't care what kind of person comes in with some sort of resume. They haven't been applying it, the logic behind each injury, to players, to NFL, to recoveries, seeing whether that happens or whether they can recover fast enough or not, what time frames they need, what do they look like right before week one, how many times have you seen it fail, how many times have you not seen it fail. You need somebody that's been hands-on for 23 years doing it, and that's what this show does, and we do it live. Breece Hall to the mother freaking Saturn.
To Saturn.
I think we got a couple other pieces of news here before we jump straight to the phone lines. This is that another Tyreek Hill, news. This is from KPRC. Aaron Wilson, Tyreek said, "I'm also looking for a new deal" when asked about the recent contract. So we know that this is coming from multiple sources, and there was, I believe, nailing down the original. Aaron Rodgers missed mandatory minicamp due to a pre-planned trip to Egypt. We didn't know what his little trip or his little time off was, because I'm sure they didn't want people following him, and he wanted to keep it on the down low. But this was very, very known. It was known from the beginning. Was it a wrong time to go? Some might say. Sure, you could say that, but he was there at every phase prior. Voluntary workouts. He didn't miss a beat. He's back. Everything's ready. Is ready to rumble. It's July 1. Nobody thinks this is going to impact the season. None of the players think it's going to impact the season. People are kind of out of pocket. Similar to when people said that Kyren Williams was, his foot injury. He's already hurt. Kyron's fine. Has anybody seen my Instagram video of Kyren Williams? We'll go live tonight. We'll go live tonight on Kyren Williams and draft tonight. I'll show you a little clip of that video, and we'll draft Kyren Williams like we've never drafted him before in tonight's Underdog Fantasy promo code Smitty draft. So if you want to draft with me tonight, hit this link right now. I'll pin the link in the live chat. This is where you can find the draft tonight. Just hit that link and sign up. And do it live. So let me get in here and pin this link real quickly. Appreciate everybody being here, and let me see if I can find this link. Hold on, let me pin it. Let me pin that link. Where are we at? There it is. Pin the live chat. There we go. Hit that link. Do it live. Aaron Rodgers. I love Aaron Rodgers. I love that people don't love that I love Aaron Rodgers. I love Aaron Rodgers. I think he's an absolute marvel. I think he should be protected at all times. And I love that people hate him. And I love that people get so damn upset at him being himself. And I support Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Rodgers wants to go to Egypt. He deserves to go to Egypt. Aaron Rodgers is taking the Jets as far as he can this year. I don't know what that means. I don't know how far he'll get. But I do know that this team's capable of winning their division. And if not, grabbing a wild card spot and having a nice little go in the playoffs. I just don't know what's in store for the future. A lot is tied to Aaron Rodgers. I very much would love to see them get another quarterback. I would have loved to see them trade for Justin Fields. I know that would have been awkward for Aaron Rodgers. They didn't want to do that to him. It happened with Jordan Love. It did not end well. It broke a lot of the relationships and trust Aaron Rodgers had with the team. But maybe they could have talked to him and said, hey, we promise we will not bench you. We'll play you until, even if we're 0 wins. All the way through the season. Just let us bring him in so we got him here and we can extend him if we want. We can franchise tag him, whatever. Allow us to do this. I just don't know what's in store. I don't know how long he'll play. Will it be 1 year? I'm still a little bit worried about the Achilles. I worry about Cousins and Aaron Rodgers almost equally. I worry a little less about Rodgers because he's a little further along. But, Achilles injuries are tough. You definitely have a compensation risk where you might tear the other Achilles because literally your Achilles, you've obviously been working them and wearing them down in a weird way. It's kind of like, think about your brake pads. Your brake pads on one side of your car are going to have almost the same wear and tear on the left side of your car. If you've got a patellar tendon injury, it's ready to pop at any moment because you've been abusing your patellar tendons over and over. I had this happen with me. I was playing basketball, running full speed, jumped up to block somebody's shot, going full speed, and when I landed on one leg, my patellar tendon snapped in half. My kneecap flew up into the top of my thigh as much as it can go. And I was like, I thought someone took a board and hit me in the side of the leg. I said, somebody kicked me when I was down. I was like, somebody kicked me. Nobody kicked me. They told me later, nobody kicked you. It felt like someone kicked me right in the leg. My patellar tendon was abused for years because of the way I jumped and that I didn't get my thigh strength enough to accommodate my calf strength and in the speed that I'd be running at and jumping, and I let my patellar tendons do the brunt of the work. That means my other patellar tendon is like on a thread. It has been abused the same amount. Your Achilles is kind of the same way in some respects. Sometimes you can snap an Achilles at random, but there is risk to anybody that's torn Achilles because they obviously have a potential of running strangely, or they put wear and tear on it in a different way. So I am worried about Aaron Rodgers' other Achilles. I am worried about Cousins' other Achilles. We've seen this happen before. But he's a quarterback. There's less risk of him exploding and running and causing some sort of damage because he doesn't have to explode full speed. He can run and kind of gallop around. I don't know that there's extreme risk. There's definitely some risk. I look at the Atlanta Falcons situation, and I see a team that planned ahead and did what they needed to do to protect their entire team, and that was drafting Penix Jr. And I see a Jets team that did not do the same thing. They drafted a nice kid, Travis. He seems like he's got upside. Maybe he turns out into something. I'm not saying he's not good. But I like that they at least drafted Travis, but I don't know if he's going to be as good as Penix Jr. So I wish the Jets would have traded up, got aggressive, took him. I know that would have pissed off Aaron Rodgers, but that was the move to make. The Falcons beat everybody to the punch. And everybody that rips on the Falcons, you don't know what you're talking about. Everybody that says this is a bad move by the Falcons, you don't know what you're talking about. This team is going to be marvelous. It's one of the Smitty bunch. You've got Alice in the middle and Kirk Cousins. If it works out, it works out. They'll keep him in there as long as they can. But this man on the bottom of the screen in the middle, Penix Jr., could be a monster. These two teams are very similar. We're bringing them together to form the Smitty bunch, and we're doing it live. And I urge all of you to draft the Smitty bunch at any turn. At any turn. Aaron Rodgers to the moon. All right, let's see if we got any other pieces of news out there. I don't know if we do. I think that might be it. What is this? Oh, here's a photo of your boy Smitty. This is Andrew. Andrew was able to sit next to me during the draft, and he basically helped anytime I needed anything. So I appreciate Andrew, a human Ziggy. I don't know if he's in the chat tonight. Ziggy, how do you feel about getting replaced?
I'm always interested to hear how I can improve.
Yeah, well, and
I'm saying I have feedback.
Ziggy off. Anyways, this is from the live Scott Fishbowl event. I've got my Scott Fishbowl team so far. It's in like the 12th round, something like that. I forget what round we're in. It's a slow draft now. The first 1 through 10 rounds were done live, and then essentially once we got to, I believe, like this. I think it was this Trey Benson pick was my last pick at 10.3. So 11.10 and 12.3 and 13.10 have happened in a slow draft with 8-hour timer. And this guy's been at the end has been timing out every time. Not every time, but he timed out the last time and almost timed out again. And so it's been dragging on. But my team looks absolutely phenomenal. I think I'm on the clock here soon again. No, guy's still on the clock. He's still on the clock at the turn. But this is my team so far. It's a Superflex quarterback premium on top, Superflex rushing premium, tight end premium, double tight end premium. Like everything's premium, so it's like you can't even understand what's more important. Tight end, running back, wide receiver, quarterback. It is Superflex though, but it's also mandatory one running back, and then the rest are flexes, and then there's one Superflex. So Jalen Hurts is my Superflex QB1. Jahmyr Gibbs, there's 0.25 points per rushing attempt and 0.5 per first down rushing. So it's like a running back premium league on top of, a Superflex, meaning that running quarterbacks get an absolute like massive boost because it's 6 points per TD pass. 6 points per TD pass. Running premium for quarterbacks and running backs and receivers and everybody. So Deebo Samuel I took later is a great pick as well because he runs and he's going to get a big boost. So I got Hurts, Gibbs, Marvin Harrison Jr., Devon Achane, Deebo Samuel, who's going to get massive points for running, 0.5 point for first downs, and 0.25 per rushing attempt. DK Metcalf, he runs a little bit. Kirk Cousins, cuffed to Penix Jr. I took Penix Jr. early because people have been sniping. So Penix Jr. and Cousins cuffed. I got Russell Wilson and Fields cuffed. I'm crushing the Superflex position. To have two duos, 22-man roster, I'm not worried because it's a 22-man roster. I got Jonathan Brooks, Luke Musgrave, my sleeper tight end. I got Trey Benson and Jonathan Brooks. I love that in this format, especially down later on in the season if I need them. But these quarterbacks, and now I'm going to get back to non-quarterback drafting, maybe a tight end or so. But smashing the hell out of this Superflex. But yeah, this is a dreadful slow draft. Very, very slow. To the point where people are timing out on 8-hour timers. It's really slow. I know people are getting back from Vegas, but crazy. John says Deebo hardly runs anymore.
Get Lamb.
That is cap.
Okay. Anyway, that is all she wrote. news-wise, phone lines are now going to be opened. So dial in. Let's discuss Christian McCaffrey versus Bijan. Let's discuss CeeDee Lamb. Let's discuss Aiyuk if you want. Let's discuss Tyreek Hill, whether you think he's going to get a deal. Phone lines are open. Dial in.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
What is up, Theo? You're live on the show. What can I do for you, pal?
I got an offer to send away my Bijan. Just never something that I want to do.
Bijan card has
Would you accept
revoked.
Kyler Murray and a 25 second-round pick in a super flex league for Bijan?
No. I mean, the thing is, like, do you draft Kyler ahead of Bijan? It's arguable in a super flex startup, but like, who are your quarterbacks?
Per carry, but
It's what?
Stroud, Penix, and May.
No. I would take a chance that Penix or May's going to help you out. I'm not doing that. I'm keeping Bijan. Especially if you get a point. What do you get per rush attempt? Not that Kyler's not good for that, but a point per
0.2 per carry
Point
and 0.25 for first down.
I mean, Kyler becomes more valuable with the bonuses, but so does Bijan. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
so
it's relative. So it's not like something that like, oh, well, Kyler becomes no, they both become. I mean, Bijan's going to get fed.
Exactly.
We're just talking about it. I'd say no, bro. Bank on Penix and May. You know,
All right, but
I think you might even be able to trade for Cousins using second rounders or something. Go trade for Cousins.
Yeah, true.
You know what I might even say? Trade May for Cousins straight up. I don't care what anybody says. You got Penix Jr. This is the safest move for you.
All right.
Does anybody disagree with that? I understand May's got more value probably in Dynasty, but we don't even know that. And not to mention, it's invincible for your team. I wouldn't even care what anybody said. I don't care if people laughed at me. I'd give up more if I had to in your situation to cuff Penix Jr. to Kirk Cousins for your super flex. Like, who's your QB1 again? You got who?
Stroud.
You got Stroud. So you got Stroud. And right now, you could get Kyler, but you lose Bijan. If you could trade Drake May, and I'd even give up a second if I had to, don't tell anybody, for Cousins, who is dog water to people in Dynasty, and you got Penix Jr., you're unstoppable at quarterback. And you keep Bijan. My idea is 10,000 times better than that other idea. 10,000.
I could trade May and a first for Kyler, probably.
Do that. but I still like this other idea if this doesn't work out, bro. Because Cousins and Penix Jr. is phenomenal. Maybe Drake May is amazing and you regret it, but I don't think you will. Because it doesn't.
I just think he has that upside, which is why I don't really feel like moving him unless I get a good deal.
I mean, bro, he's got upside.
He reminds me a lot of Justin Herbert.
He's got upside, but you're guaranteed the starter. You're guaranteed the starter in an offense that I think is going to make the head coach coach of the year, or could be. He's going to be in the running. But all right, hold on, Theo. Sebastian, you're live.
Who are you higher on between Breece and Bijan? Because they're both right there. Breece is 2 years removed. I mean, Bijan had the prospect profile, the O-line, new coaching. So between the two of them.
And Dynasty or Redraft? Probably the same answer.
Redraft.
Redraft, I'm going to say Dynasty, especially Bijan, because you got Penix Jr., Cousins, you're secure at quarterback. The offense can't crumble at all.
Yeah.
Breece Hall, you have the threat of Aaron Rodgers getting hurt for the future, so we're not being good after a year or only wanting to play 1 year. There's so much risk involved. So I would say you've got to go, I think, with Bijan. I think he's, you also got the threat of, I'm not saying I'm worried about Braylon Allen at all, or I'm worried about Malachi Corley, but those two guys threaten a little bit of Breece Hall's work. Bijan's being told, you tell us what's too much, and we'll take it off your plate. It just feels a little bit more workhorse. Not that Breece Hall's not a workhorse, but I'm just saying Bijan feels Christian McCaffrey workhorse. Breece Hall feels Alvin Kamara in Alvin Kamara's prime workhorse, but they're kind of two different buckets of player. But they're both capable of being the number 1 overall running back. But give me Bijan all day. This much secure situation long term, and the offense is, even in Dynasty and then in redraft, the offense is just guaranteed with the 2 QBs.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy that they can both finish as number 1. And, I mean, how much riskier Breece's situation looked, but he also overcame it. So that's where we're at the toss-up, It's like he might even be situation-proof.
Yeah. Hey, and Theo, the more I think about it, Theo just hung up. The more I think about it, Theo, try to get more first in the May for Cousins trade. I'm not, because you might see people like laugh at that, and you're like, damn, I could have got something. So like, just understand, my mindset is not necessarily to play it out, like show your cards. See if you can get something in addition to Cousins for your Drake May, and make it known here. I'm not telling anybody in a different situation to trade Drake May for Kirk Cousins in a dynasty startup. He does because it's a super flex. He has Penix Jr. And I honestly don't think, I think it's a smart move, but try and get something. I do like your first rounder and May for Kyler. That one's also really nice, but I think Kirk Cousins and Penix Jr. is a bulletproof QB2, especially in Atlanta. It's just one of those things that you might even get laughed at for making the trade, but I could give 2 craps what anybody says when my quarterbacks are Stroud and both Atlanta Falcon quarterbacks. You're unstoppable. As far as the Christian McCaffrey Bijan conversation here, I mean, getting less work, being told you're going to dial you back. We got to protect Christian McCaffrey. Kyle Shanahan saying he's going to dial back Christian McCaffrey's workload. He's got to protect him from himself. Where are you at on the Bijan versus CMC? I'm not necessarily going to ask anybody to draft Bijan over CMC. I'm not saying I don't once in a while. Just to try and build, in best ball, you're doing $5, $10 drafts to get some shares of Bijan built teams from the 1, because you're going to have different players. You're going to have different assets, so you can build a different team than you can build from the 4 spot over and over and over. You'll literally find, if you do Bijan 1 overall, you'll find the perfect draft 1 out of every, in terms of like the first 4 rounds. You'll find everything falls the way you want once out of like 10 times, right? So if you do 1 Bijan at number 1 overall draft, the odds of you landing the perfect land of everybody in those first 4 rounds or whatever is not going to be great. So you might just stray away from it, and the winning team might be that Bijan built team. Just because Bijan's not ranked number 1 doesn't mean that in best ball you can't reach a little bit once in a while. Just don't make it a habit. Don't climb his ADP up to 1 overall. We can't do what we did last year and overdraft him when we don't need to, but you do need to try and explore those Bijan built teams from all over the first round draft board. But what do you think? What do you think about McCaffrey specifically?
I think in a high stakes, or if you're in one league, total fade. If you're an underdog, 4% blanket. I just don't like them at all. I'm staying away from CMC. I don't want to bet my bottom dollar on a 28-year-old running back. That's just me.
Yeah, I would say in best ball, take some stabs, because you're talking about $5 or $10 drafts. You don't want to be left at the end of the year having 0 CMC shares, and he does have a 20 touchdown season, and everybody that's winning has Christian McCaffrey on their roster. Like you want to have some stabs at that. But for the most part, I think if I had to make a decision, and I was getting in a time machine and I was traveling straight to week 18, and you said, okay, who outscores each other, Bijan or CMC? I'm going to tell you Bijan. I think Bijan's the number 1 running back in fantasy football. Nothing changes from last year to this year other than we got Arthur Smith out of the way, and unfortunately that derailed everything. But it didn't derail this man from being running back 9 in a nightmare situation. He was literally the third running back in the pecking order, like 25-30% of the time. Like anywhere near the goal line, he wasn't even the second running back in the pecking order at the goal line. He wasn't. He was used if, let's say, Algier and what's his face, Cordero needed a breather. They're like, hey, Bijan, you want to take a one goal line attempt? We're gonna call a horrible play for you anyway. You won't have anywhere to run.
Like the 11, and if he doesn't score from like 10 plus yards, you get benched.
Bro, if I had Bijan anywhere near like the 8-yard line, I'm running 4 times. Like maybe even the 10-yard line. I'm running 4. I'm saying to myself, we're running the ball 4 times. You know, I'm not saying I wouldn't throw it to Pitts or London. I'm just, you could get in 4 attempts at the goal line. You're getting in with Bijan. It was absolutely ludicrous that this guy Arthur Smith had no clue he had the best goal line running back in the National Football League on his roster. Like part of me does. I do get scared about the Steelers from time to time. I do catch myself saying, "Are you an idiot, Smitty? Like, what are you doing? Banking on any Steeler whatsoever? You swore you wouldn't do this." The only thing it's making me feel, and I don't even have full confirmation on this, I'm maybe telling you my take a lap moment is banking at, and I'm not banking on it completely, but like in some ways, Najee and Warren I like at 80 and 90 overall draft value. That's not risky. And then, you know, Fields and Russell Wilson together as a super flex home run secret weapon is pretty damn good. But the thing that scares the hell out of me is that this guy is so incompetent to not know Bijan Robinson's not only the best goal line back on the roster, but the best goal line back probably in the National Football League. How incompetent must you be? And for him to get another job to be an offensive coordinator, it scares me a little bit. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I just catch myself. I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing? I don't know. I just hope that Mike Sullivan, who got a promotion, who took over the passing attack duties for the most part, this guy concocted a pretty good little end of the season passing affair with Mason the red-nosed Mason Rudolph reindeer. He looked pretty good considering, and Mike Sullivan did a good job. And if he got promoted, I can't imagine he got promoted and then they took away his duties. So I'm making assumptions here that Arthur Smith isn't touching the passing attack necessarily. That Zach Robinson, who was the QB coordinator in charge of the passing attack in LA for the Rams last year, who now got hired as offensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons, I'm kind of envisioning Mike Sullivan getting promoted in handling more the passing attack than anybody knows. But I'm making a very reckless assumption, and I'm just letting you all know that sometimes I question it. Arthur Smith scares the hell out of me.
Oh, can I drop in my thoughts on some later running back cuts?
Later running back cuffs? Sure.
Give me Zach Moss and Chase Brown. No one knows, like, really who's going to be the starter, like, from a long-term perspective. I mean, Moss can lose it at any moment if he doesn't live up to what they want. But you know what I do see in that Bengals backfield? If Joe Burrow bounces back the way we expect, I see a Dolphins-esque type league-winning return between one or two of them, because I remember Mostert and A-Chan were going pretty late last year. I mean, with Chase Brown in the offense, he could rip a big one. Zach Moss at the goal line, too, can help get those 1-2 yard runs. I really do think that between Chase Brown and Zach Moss, one of them will absolutely smash it.
Yeah, they're in the top 7 handcuffs in fantasy this year, so it's a really, really good combo. I think Charbonnet and Walker are becoming more and more interesting to me. I think Lloyd and Jacobs are becoming more vital than every day that I move forward. I think Lloyd is a must for Jacobs owners because they seem to love him there. He's going to get usage right away. That doesn't mean Jacobs won't thrive. It just means that if Jacobs were to go down, Lloyd will already be in good favor, and be injected straight into the lineup. So that's what's important when you're looking at a cuff, is you say, how likely are they to be in there for pass blocking downs and get all of the work if something happens? And you look at a guy like Bucky Irving, and it's not very likely. You look at it. So I almost want to say I'm going to move this one down. He's got a lot of work to do to get there. Kendre Miller, we like a lot. Yeah, I'm probably going to move Bucky Irving down. Spears is really important to Pollard, but because I don't love the combo enough, I think I'm going to move Miller and Kamara up a lot because I'm starting to really like this combination a ton. I'm going to move this down here. I want to move this down here. We'll put the tier break right here. And quite honestly, man, I'm starting to really, 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 I don't know where I'm going to put this Kamara. I'm going to put it right here for now, but it needs to be in this top tier. I like Kendre Miller and Kamara. It's a fantastic running back. There's so many good cuffs this year. Like, you go Warren Harris, you go Brown, Zach Moss, you go Lloyd Jacobs, you go Barkley. And Shipley's different because you're taking Barkley so high. And Bijan, you're taking him obviously super high. So why do I have Bijan and Algier switched here? Let me make that. I don't know what I was doing there. Bijan and Barkley, you're taking extremely high. Walker, you're taking in a medium range. So they hold a little bit different value. But I still think when we talk about the cuff, what do they guarantee you? Algier and Bijan, almost by way of just Bijan, gets you the most return out of all of these. Kyren and Corum is my number one cuff in fantasy, though. It's by far and away the best cuff.
Top 5 back every week.
Every week. And then this trio, I'm literally drafting all three of them. I'm drafting Achane, Mostert, and Jalen Wright. The fact that you can get Mostert so late and Wright's like almost free, especially in your mom and pop and buddy leagues, no one's going to even be, Wright's not going to be on their radar. But if you get all three of these guys, I love having both of these combos. This is why, hold on one second, Sebastian. Let me hit this. This is why we're talking about the Matrix. You grab these 5 running backs, Corum to Kyren, Achane to both of his backs, and you have the makings of one of the best draft strategies that has ever existed on planet Earth or in the galaxy.
Matrix activated.
The Matrix is drafting Chase, Lamb or Hill in round 1. Achane and Kyren specifically in rounds 2 and 3.
Yes.
Then Mahomes or Hurts. And of course Allen if he fell in round 4. In round 5, McBride or Kincaid.
The Matrix, the best draft strategy in the entire Milky Way galaxy.
Unload the Matrix upon your league.
Game over.
It's truly the best strategy I've deployed this year. I'm deploying. There's a lot of combos of it, so you can get some different variants. The only variant that isn't available is the running backs. You're cuffing them, but you're grabbing Kyren and you're grabbing Achane. If you can't get one of them, you can try and deploy it in a different way. I'm not saying you can't divert and get some form of the Matrix, like a cousin of it. But the only thing that does not change are the running backs. That Matrix is designed off of Kyren and Achane, both being top 5 running back capable, all while you grab a top 1 to 3 quarterback, all while you grab a top 1 to 3 wide receiver, all while you grab a top 1 to 2 tight end. You're grabbing a top 2 tight end, quite arguably a top 2 quarterback, quite arguably the number 1 or number 2 wide receiver, and you're getting 2 top 5 running backs. We're smashing our league into a million pieces with the Matrix.
Let's go! Mashed potatoes!
All right, Sebastian, anything else? I got to get to these super chats.
No, I'm just really high on that Cincinnati backfield as we're getting closer and closer to the season. But I definitely do think that Kyren and Corum are the best cuff overall of them in fantasy, for sure.
All right, bro. Later. I appreciate that. I like that cuff. What is this? Go pull some video on Algier. He's not going on. Hold on.
And off he goes to the planet known as Uranus.
Take a deuce, take a deuce, take a deuce, take a deuce. Ray, you just made the worst takes ever board. Go pull some video on Tyler Algier. He's not going away. Oh boy. Thank you for this Sean, this $10 holler.
To the
$10 hollers get moonshots, my mang. Hey Smitty, 10-man Superflex 0.5 Dynasty question. Would you prefer to start with Stroud, Gibbs, and JD5, or CJ Stroud, Garrett Wilson, and JD5? Or CJ Stroud, Garrett Wilson, and Tyreek Hill. So Dynasty. I'd probably say give me Gibbs slightly over Garrett Wilson. But just like, you know what I mean? Like I'm drafting Gibbs over him. So that's going to make me lean that way. But those are all amazing. Hey, Smitty, thank you for the super chat. It's fair to say Aiyuk isn't lying to us when he said he wants to stay and get a deal done in San Francisco. He would have requested a trade already. Is it fair to say he wants that first and foremost? Yeah. That's why he said sure. Like, do you want to be here? Sure. You know, it's his home. It's where he's been. I mean, he doesn't want to pack up everything and change everything about his life. But if they don't want a Lamborghini. If they can't afford a Lamborghini, then they're not going to get a Lamborghini. He already said that. But the Niner fans want to twist it up. No one is saying there isn't a high probability of him being in San Francisco. The question is that high probability a combination of him not getting a new deal, but he's playing on his fifth-year option. He also has less control than that. He can't just say, I want to get traded. He's going to want to not crap where he eats, right? Right now he's eating in San Francisco. So it's not like he's going to be like, I don't want to be here. I hate it. The fans suck. Like he's going to be like, look, this is probably where I'm going to be if the Niners smarten up. But if they don't, he's going to request a trade. And you say he would have requested a trade already. Maybe he was a part of that leak earlier. This is the way agents do it. Hey, there's a leak. No, there's not. And then it gets it out there. And on top of that, like, bro, he's trying to work it out. I don't know if you've seen the quote lately, Calvin, where he says he's going to meet one more time. And if they don't want to make this happen, then he wants to go play with JD5. So the Niner fans won't talk about those different reports. They only talk about him saying, sure, I want to stay here. And then they cut it. And you're saying he would have requested a trade already. Who says that? What on earth would make you say, and I'm not mad at you, Calvin. I love you, pal, and I appreciate you super chatting. And I'm just, constructively asking the question back at you. He would have requested. Who says he would have requested it already? What is there a rule on when to request a trade? You request a trade when you've exhausted all resources and you know it's not going to work. He's trying to make it work. He's going back for one more meeting. They've been close before. He says they're not close now. So he's going back to see if they can get it done. If they can get it done, great. If not, then he most likely will request a trade versus just going to play on his fifth-year option without trying to get to JD5. He clearly wants to play with JD5, bro. If he can't play in San Francisco, he wants a trade. He's essentially requesting a trade. Like, don't you see that, Calvin? He's kind of requested one in a subtle way when he says, if I don't get a deal, I'd like to go play with JD5. How is that not, in a sense, telling you he's heading in that direction? You say he already would have done it. I disagree. He's telling you that he's going to go in that direction. He's telling you what he wants. You know what I'm saying? Justin Rush with a $10 holler.
To the moon. Appreciate
you. Thank you, Calvin. I appreciate you, bro. I was not being critical on you. I love Bijan and also have him as my number one running back, but every time I draft him, I find myself not being able to resist Kyren in the 30s. You draft them both. You don't care about that. You draft double up on RB. Who cares? Go robust RB. Do it live. I draft Kyren with Bijan all the time. All the time. You know what I also do? The forbidden running back in best ball. I do it like every 3 drafts. How do you like that? How do you like that stat? How do you like that stat, Scotty?
Time for
Alert. Maximum levels reached. Prepare for transformation. Alert. Maximum levels reached. Prepare for transformation.
Look, honest discussion here. You think I can't go RB in best ball? Get ready, Excel sheet Erics and data Donnies, best ball data Bobbies, who can't resist to go wide receiver 8 straight times in a row. I could care less about your data. Okay, I know the data. I apply the data. I use the data. But Smitty, it's been proven that I'm a robot. It's been proven that if you go wide receiver, your odds of probably winning go up from 12.5% to 19.7%. You can't possibly be the guy inside the top 12, Smitty. I'm a robot Robert. And I'm absolutely going to go wide receiver because I'm being told to by 3 dudes with an Excel sheet that don't draft with their gut. All they do is go wide receiver. And this is no knock. I'm not saying people that are doing this on average aren't really smart guys that know data like the back of their hand. But these are all very, as you can imagine, poker playing odds guys that will follow the trend in data until the data tells them, hey, this is actually pretty good too. Cool, let's try that. And they'll use it. They'll use their intelligence and smarts to get a lot of good deals on wide receivers and draft within the confines of that formula because they love formulas. And the people that are gut driven like to go against traffic. I'll dive into that deep water and swim against 12% chance of me making it into the finals over an 18 or 21% chance because I know that I'm doing it right in the 12% bucket. Most people not going wide receiver have just got into best ball because they haven't been brainwashed yet. And so the people in the 12% bucket, the 8% bucket, the 7.5% bucket, the 14% bucket, depending on what contest you're in, that pool of player is full of a lot of people that don't know what they're doing. They're novice to best ball. So if I jump in to the 12% bucket, just because they're not doing it right doesn't mean I won't do it right. I'll go running back in best ball anytime I want. And I'll continue to do it. And you can make fun of my wide receivers all you want. But if I land Christian Watson and I get Keon Coleman and I get a bunch of guys that are going to be ballers and I somehow am able to get a Tank Dell still somehow, some way, or I grab a Mahomes, even after I've drafted 3 running backs in a row, I'm going to have a baller team. I'm going to draft. Don't tell anybody this. Don't tell an Excel sheet Eric this. Don't tell a best ball Bobby this. He'll have a heart attack. I've drafted Bijan, Achane, Kyren, Mahomes, Kincaid. You'd have a heart attack, Bobby. You'd have a heart attack. Oh, that can't win. That can't win. The data says that's only 8% instead of 12%. That's not good. Wait, that's not that big of a difference. Yeah, no shit, Johnny. Hi, I'm Robot Robbie. I was told if I go wide receiver, I might just have a better shot at winning. When I say better, I mean slightly. I mean 7%. Can I stop this yet? No? I'm being told not to. I'm being told if I do this, I got a higher percentage chance of winning my best ball draft. I go from 16. I'm injured. I go from 16%. I can only do it this. Does this work? Okay, my percentages went down from 17 to 15 now that I only have one arm. I'm told if I do this for 45 minutes, I go from 13% back to 14%. These odds are great. Hopefully these mega running back teams, go running back. Don't listen to anybody. Don't even listen to me if your gut tells you to do something. I'm here to guide you. I'm here to shove you over the fence if you're on the edge. I'm not here to take you by your ear, drag you over the fence and go, you're going to like Kyren. You don't like Kyren, leave him for the rest of us. Calvin Krim, fun fact, Mixon was only running back last year with over 80% share of carries for their team. Zach Taylor loves his running backs. Moss will be a steal. I love Moss. Look, this is one of the best cuffs in fantasy for a reason. Brown and Moss, fantastic. Warren and Harris, also really good. Connor and Benson, number 4. So Connor Benson, Warren Harris, and probably Brown and Moss are probably the most crafty later RB cuffs, hero RB, or even zero RB approaches you can find in fantasy. Without a doubt, Calvin. Without a mother freaking doubt. Appreciate you. And Matthew with a super chat. Kyler Murray is going to be a top 1 to 3 QB this year. I don't hate that take at all. We talk about it all the time here. Matthew, you're not alone. He was capable. He was number 5 overall. If you extrapolate his data from his injury season, which I believe he played 10 games or something. If you take his season and extrapolate it across 17 games, he was QB5. QB5 or QB6. So he's done it before. It's not even bold. It's just you're being told he can't do it. And so, yeah, Matthew, Marvin Harrison Jr., Kyler, this is why the Smitty bunch is so phenomenal. Look at this man. Kyler, you got his older sibling, Marvin Harrison. No, I'm sorry, his older son. You got Drake London, his stepson. You got both these tight end monsters. McBride's tight end number 1. Maybe 2, maybe 3, but top 3. Benson, I know you're going to say, where's James Conner? Where's James Conner? Look, James Conner, didn't make the photo. He's the redheaded stepchild of this crew. We didn't have room. I had to make a call. Thank you, Matthew. Appreciate you for dropping a super chat wad. Let's see if we got any celebratory messages. We do. Cut to the chase, celebrating 12 months. Just landed on Mars. Attaboy. Congrats on that Mars, man. Emoji. Cut to the chase. Appreciate you. Boarded the shuttle to Saturn. Appreciate you, man. A-Train, celebrating 13 months. CMC, Chase Hall, Achan, Puka, 1 per position. What's this question? Somebody dropped gifted memberships up in here. I can smell it from a mile away. Let's see who did that. Who's dropping gifted Oh, look at this. Look at this. New Age Outlaws dropping 5 gifted memberships. Appreciate you, buddy boy. What do we do here? 2 keepers. CMC, Chase, Hall, H, and Puka. You got to keep Hall and Puka. Or no, I'm sorry. Chase and Hall. 1 point per... 1 per position. Oh, gotcha. Okay, so Chase and Hall. Chase and Hall. Reason I say that is because you're going to be able to draft back. As long as you can continue to keep them, though. If you can't, then CMC, because... But I don't know. Even then, I hesitate. But Chase and Hall, because you can get HM back a little easier. You can draft Puka back a little bit easier than Hall or Jamar Chase. So that usually should guide you. Not that you go off what other people would do, but I mean, if you would draft them back, if you're drafting Hall and Chase above HN and Puka, which you are, those are the keepers. See, if you can keep them for the long term, though, then that's the answer. If you can keep them for 1 year, we got a little bit of a debate on our hands in terms of whether it be CMC or Hall. But appreciate you. Tyreek said that when JJ got his deal, Tyreek's family was celebrating. That's interesting, and you definitely know Tyreek's going to get a bag, but we don't know how much. And I do think he stays probably in Miami, but we'll see. 8 months of membership. Thank you, Theo. Superflex, Dynasty, Bijan or Kyler, and 25-second. Bijan. That's the one we talked about earlier. Theo, thank you for calling in on that. I appreciate you. Theo to the moon. All right, phone line's open for anybody that has a quick question. We'll be back tonight to draft. That link is pinned in the live chat. If you want to draft tonight, hit this link. It's pinned in the live chat, but I'll drop it one more time. Underdog Fantasy, promo code Smitty. That league in August is going to start in August, obviously. I'm going to start sending emails out for the next wave of teams. Anybody that joins the Patreon before probably tomorrow night, I'm just going to keep giving you a rough estimate because I don't want to misfire and excite people into getting into the Patreon league. But right now, anybody that joins tonight or tomorrow night by midnight should be in fine. I can't guarantee it, but join my Patreon. It's going to be an amazing event. Click that Patreon link. $10 a month gets you 10 live chat rooms where we're in there constantly all day long. So it looks like this. The app has chat rooms, and there's another button for content, and the content's locked down. It's as simple as that. There's a content button and a live chat button, and we're all in there. People post questions. What do you guys think of this trade? Someone's typing right now, it says, and they answer your question. You can pose a question. There's a trade room. There's a live game chat room where when any game's going on Monday night, Thursday night, the Sunday slate of games will all be just piled in there talking and having different like threaded conversations. $10 per month, cancel anytime. The reason it's $10 a month is we got to keep the lights on here, but it also weeds out all the trolls. It's nothing but a positive community. Everybody you see in the live chat here are the people that are inside this Patreon. So it's unbelievable. Appreciate you all for doing that. That link I just dropped, I'll drop it one more time for everybody. Join my Patreon. There it is. And then again, not only that, the link that's pinned in the live chat is how you draft tonight. So I'll see you all tonight. Let's see if we got any other super chats. I don't. Thank you for my gifted memberships. New Age, appreciate you dropping that 5 gifted memberships. Thank you to all my celebratory messages. You guys absolutely rock. Theo, Superfish, A-Train, and Cut the Chase. Appreciate you doing that. Super chatters, thank you, Matthew. Thank you, Calvin. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Calvin. Thank you, Justin Rush, for dropping the $9 hauler to start off the show. Appreciate every single one of you. Monsters out there. Without you, the show wouldn't go down. So without you, I'd be nothing. Appreciate you all. And all my Twitter people on X, go over to the YouTube channel, subscribe. Eventually, I don't know if we're going to always be on Twitter as well as YouTube, just because I like to keep it intimate on YouTube. I've been streaming to Twitter all off season, but I just don't know if I'm going to continue. So make sure you're subscribed up. See you all tonight. We'll be drafting.
Once upon a time, Trey McBride saw 2 quarterbacks cross streams.
There are 2 5s?
They're gonna cross streams.
He worked effortlessly trying to accomplish this feat on his own. Then, one day, he crossed his 4th and 5th round average draft position. And then, this occurred. Get McBride.
Matrix activated.
The Matrix is drafting Chase, Lamb, or Hill in round 1. Chain and Kyren specifically in rounds 2 and 3.
Yes.
Then Mahomes or Hurts, and of course Allen if he fell in round 4. In round 5, McBride or Kincaid.
The Matrix, the best draft strategy in the entire Milky Way galaxy.
Unload the Matrix upon your league.
Game over.
Live Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. That's this show right here, Monday through Friday. Also live whenever news breaks on this channel. Always do that. No one does that. We do it. We do it. You can count on me. Something breaks, it's big, we're live. Even if I'm late, 10 minutes later, sometimes it could be an hour later or whatever. We're here. Just keep checking. Have the notifications turned on. Subscribe if you're new. Like the video on the way out the door. See you tonight. That link to draft is pinned in the live chat. Do it live. Don't be late. We're drafting tonight. Don't be late. There it is again. Code Smitty or that link. They'll match your first deposit on Underdog up to 50%. So if you do a $10 deposit, which is the minimum, they'll give you $5. You do 100, they'll give you $50. You do 500, they'll give you $250. So all the way up to that $250. But you only have to do the minimum of $10. They'll give you $5. You'll have $15 to play. And if we do a weekly, you'll be able to use it right on that. We can do the $3. Well, I imagine we'll do the $3 10 or 15 second drafts if they're still going on. They might not be. But I'll see you all tonight. Later.